The dust cloud from the transport truck hadn't even settled when Sergeant Maya Chen heard the first snicker. She shouldered her pack and stepped onto the scorched earth of Forward Operating Base Sentinel, her boots crunching against the gravel as 3 soldiers emerged from the nearest bunker. Staff Sergeant Derek Hoffman looked her up and down with undisguised amusement, his weathered face breaking into a condescending grin. "What did headquarters send us this time?" he called to his companion. Corporal Brad Mitchell joined the inspection, circling Maya like she was a piece of faulty equipment. "She can't be more than 18, Mitchell observed, his voice carrying across the compound. "Look at that baby face. Bet she's never even seen real combat." Maya kept her expression neutral, years of experience teaching her when to speak and when to listen. The desert sun beat down mercilessly as more soldiers gathered, drawn by the spectacle of the new arrival. Their whispered comments created a chorus of doubt that followed her toward the command tent. "Fresh meat," someone muttered from the growing crowd. Maya found her assigned bunk in the corner of the barracks, the metal frame squeaking as she set down her gear. The other soldiers continued their assessment from across the room, their voices carrying no attempt at discretion. "She probably cries herself to sleep," Mitchell announced, earning laughs from the assembled group. Hoffman leaned against the support beam, arms crossed as he studied their newest squad member. "Hope she can at least carry her own weight," he said with theatrical concern. "We're heading into hostile territory tomorrow, not some training exercise back at Benning." Maya methodically unpacked her equipment, each movement precise and economical. Her hands moved over familiar items with practiced efficiency, but the watching soldiers saw only a nervous rookie arranging her belongings. Private Torres whispered to his bunkmate about babysitting duty, while Specialist Wong wondered aloud if Maya had even finished basic training. The speculation grew more creative with each exchange, painting her as everything from a clerical error to a politician's daughter playing soldier. When the dinner bell rang, Maya walked toward the mess hall alone, the weight of their assumptions pressing against her shoulders like desert heat. The morning briefing began at 0600 sharp. Colonel Patricia Reeves spread tactical maps across the scarred wooden table as the squad assembled, their faces grim in the fluorescent lighting. Maya took a position near the back, notebook ready. "Intel suggests enemy movement through the Kaler Valley," the colonel announced, her finger tracing routes across the topographical lines. "Your patrol will establish observation points here and here, then report back on insurgent activity." Hoffman leaned forward, studying the proposed route with obvious concern. "Ma'am, that approach puts us in a natural funnel." Maya quietly raised her hand, but Hoffman continued without pause. "We should consider the eastern ridgeline instead for better visibility and escape routes." Maya waited for acknowledgement before speaking. "Colonel, I've studied similar terrain profiles. The eastern approach has significant blind spots at these coordinates," she said, pointing to specific locations on the map. The room fell silent. Mitchell snorted with amusement while Torres exchanged glances with Wong. Hoffman's jaw tightened as he turned toward Maya with barely concealed irritation. "Thanks for the geography lesson, rookie, but some of us have actual combat experience here." The squad moved out at dawn, their boots kicking up small dust clouds as they navigated the rocky terrain toward the Kaler Valley. Maya walked point with Private Torres, her eyes constantly scanning the landscape ahead, while Hoffman maintained radio contact from the center of the formation. 2 clicks out, Hoffman called a halt near a cluster of boulders. The eastern ridgeline stretched before them, exactly as he had proposed during the briefing. Maya studied the approach with growing unease, recognizing potential ambush points that her earlier warning had failed to address. Torres wiped sweat from his forehead and gestured toward the ascending path. "Looks clear enough," he said with confidence born from inexperience. Mitchell nodded agreement while adjusting his pack straps. Maya moved closer to Hoffman, keeping her voice low to avoid undermining his authority. "Sergeant, those rock formations create perfect concealment for snipers. We should consider alternate positioning before advancing." Hoffman barely glanced in her direction, his attention focused on the mission timeline. Save the tactical advice for someone who needs it, Chun. We got this covered. The squad began their ascent, weapons ready, but confidence high. Maya followed silently, her instincts screaming warnings that no one wanted to hear. The radio crackled to life as the squad reached the observation point, Colonel Reeves' voice cutting through static with urgent updates. Intel now confirms heavy enemy presence in your sector. Insurgent forces moving north through multiple corridors. Hoffman acknowledged the transmission while Maya scanned the valley below through her scope. Movement caught her eye immediately, subtle shifts in shadow patterns that spoke of coordinated advance. She counted at least 12 hostiles working their way through the ravines. Contact below, she reported quietly. Multiple insurgents using the wash for concealment, approximately 400 meters southeast. Torres squinted through his binoculars, seeing nothing but rocks and scrub brush. Where exactly, he asked with skepticism clear in his voice. Maya began describing specific positions when Mitchell interrupted with a harsh laugh. Come on, baby face. You're seeing things that aren't there. Probably just goats or something. Hoffman lowered his radio and moved to Maya's position, taking her scope without permission. After a brief survey, he handed it back with dismissive confidence. Nothing down there but desert, Chun. Maybe stick to what you know. The words stung, but Maya kept watching the valley as hostile forces continued their methodical advance toward the squad's position. 20 minutes passed before Torres finally spotted movement in the valley. His excited whisper broke the tense silence as he pointed toward the exact location Maya had identified earlier. Holy shit, there's actually someone down there. Hoffman grabbed his binoculars and focused on the distant figures now visible against the lighter stone. Multiple contacts confirmed. He radioed back to base, his voice carrying new urgency. Request immediate backup and extraction coordinates. Maya continued her surveillance, tracking additional enemy elements that remained invisible to her squadmates. The insurgents moved with tactical precision, suggesting experienced leadership and coordinated planning. Her count had risen to 18 hostiles, all converging on their position. We need to relocate immediately, she said firmly. They're executing a pincer movement designed to trap us on this ridgeline. Mitchell rolled his eyes despite the confirmed threat below. Now she's a tactical expert too, he muttered to Wong. But Hoffman had begun to reassess their situation. The enemy advance was becoming more obvious by the minute, and their elevated position offered no retreat options. For the first time since Maya's arrival, doubt crept into his confidence as he realized their vulnerability. The first rifle crack echoed across the valley like thunder, sending the squad diving for cover behind scattered boulders. Maya had seen the muzzle flash before the sound reached them, her body already moving as the bullet whined overhead. Contact front, Hoffman shouted into his radio, his voice tight with adrenaline. Taking effective fire from multiple positions. Torres cried out as fragments from shattered rock face peppered his left arm. Maya assessed their tactical situation with grim clarity. The insurgents had achieved perfect positioning, using the terrain exactly as she had predicted. Their escape routes were systematically being cut off by advancing enemy elements. Were pinned down, Wong yelled over the increasing gunfire. His position offered minimal protection as bullets struck the ground around him with deadly precision. Hoffman attempted to coordinate their defense, but panic was creeping into his voice. Base, this is Bravo Squad. We need immediate air support and medical evacuation. Multiple casualties expected. Maya remained calm amid the chaos, her mind automatically calculating angles, distances, and tactical options. Years of combat experience kicked in as she began identifying priority targets through her scope. The real fight was just beginning, and her squad had no idea what she was truly capable of. Machine gun fire erupted from 3 positions simultaneously, pinning the squad in a deadly crossfire. Mitchell screamed as a round tore through his shoulder, sending him tumbling behind inadequate cover. Torres clutched his wounded arm while trying to return fire with his uninjured hand. Hoffman's radio crackled with static. Air support is 20 minutes out. The voice reported through interference. Hold your position and wait for extraction. 20 minutes might as well be 20 hours. Wong shouted over the deafening gunfire. We'll all be dead by then. Maya watched Hoffman's leadership crumble under the pressure. His hands shook as he fumbled with magazines, dropping precious ammunition onto the rocky ground. The confident staff sergeant from the briefing had vanished, replaced by a terrified soldier facing his own mortality. Torres looked toward Maya with desperate eyes. "What do we do now?" he asked, blood seeping through his fingers. The enemy fire intensified, bullets striking closer to their positions with each passing second. Maya could see the insurgents coordinating their advance, preparing for the final assault that would overrun their inadequate defensive positions. Her squad was about to discover that appearances could be lethally deceptive. Maya rose from cover with fluid precision, her rifle moving to her shoulder in one seamless motion. Her first shot silenced the machine gunner on the eastern ridge before anyone realized she had moved. The weapon fell silent as its operator crumpled behind his position. "Stay down," she commanded with quiet authority that cut through the chaos. Torres and Wong instinctively obeyed, recognizing something different in her voice. Her second shot eliminated a sniper attempting to flank their position. The bullet found its mark across impossible distance, threading between rocks with surgical accuracy. Mitchell stopped screaming long enough to stare in shock at their supposed rookie. Maya moved with calculated efficiency, using terrain features that the others hadn't even noticed. Each shot was deliberate, precise, and lethal. She advanced through positions that should have been suicide, but her movements flowed with the confidence of extensive combat experience. Hoffman watched in stunned silence as the young woman he had dismissed as fresh meat systematically dismantled a coordinated enemy assault. Her tactical awareness was beyond anything he had witnessed in his military career. "How is she doing this?" Torres whispered, his wounded arm forgotten as Maya eliminated another hostile with mechanical precision. Maya advanced through the killing field like a force of nature, her movements flowing between cover points with tactical precision that defied explanation. She eliminated 2 more insurgents before they could adjust their positions, her shots coming from angles they never anticipated. The remaining enemy forces began retreating, their coordinated assault dissolving into confused panic. Maya pressed her advantage, directing suppressive fire that drove the survivors into exposed positions where they became easy targets. "Cover the western approach," she ordered Wong, her voice carrying absolute command authority. "Torres, maintain overwatch on that ridgeline." Both soldiers obeyed instantly, recognizing leadership far beyond their own experience level. Even wounded Mitchell followed her directions without question, his earlier mockery completely forgotten. Hoffman struggled to comprehend what he was witnessing. This wasn't luck or beginner's fortune. Maya moved with the fluid confidence of a combat veteran, reading the battlefield like a tactical manual she had written herself. The final insurgent fell to Maya's rifle as helicopter rotors thundered in the distance. She lowered her weapon and checked her squad mates for injuries, her demeanor shifting back to quiet professionalism as if the devastating display had never occurred. Colonel Reeves stepped from the lead helicopter, her boots hitting the ground as medics rushed toward the wounded squad members. Her eyes immediately found Maya, who stood calmly surveying the battlefield littered with enemy casualties. "Sergeant Shun," the colonel called out, her voice carrying a mix of recognition and respect that made the entire squad turn in surprise. Maya straightened to attention as the colonel approached. "Ma'am," she responded with practiced military bearing. Colonel Reeves studied the tactical situation, counting the precise placement of enemy bodies and noting the expert use of terrain that had turned a desperate ambush into a one-sided victory. She pulled out a tablet and began scrolling through classified personnel files. "I should have recognized your name immediately," the colonel said quietly. "Iron Wolf Actual, 5 Purple Hearts, 3 Silver Stars, and more combat deployments than anyone in this unit combined." Hoffman's jaw dropped as the words registered. Torres stared in shock while Wong tried to process what he was hearing. Mitchell stopped clutching his shoulder long enough to look at Maya with completely new understanding. The baby-faced rookie they had mocked was a living legend whose reputation preceded her across multiple theaters of operation. Maya helped load Mitchell onto the medical helicopter, her touch gentle despite the lethal precision she had displayed minutes earlier. Torres watched her every movement with newfound reverence, understanding that their lives had been saved by someone extraordinary. Hoffman approached slowly, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine humility. "Sergeant Chun, I owe you an apology." "We all do. You saved our lives today." Maya nodded quietly, accepting his words without triumph or bitterness. "We're all soldiers here, Staff Sergeant. That's what matters." Wong shook his head in amazement as he surveyed the battlefield. "5 Purple Hearts," he murmured. "How many times have you been wounded saving people like us?" The helicopter engines wound up for departure as Colonel Reeves finished coordinating the extraction. Maya gathered her equipment with the same methodical precision she had shown since arriving, her legendary status now revealed, but her humble demeanor unchanged. Torres limped over to her as they prepared to board. "Thank you," he said simply. Those 2 words carried the weight of absolute gratitude. If you enjoyed this story of hidden military courage, drop a comment about what resonated most with you, or share if you've witnessed similar strength under fire.